Well, welcome everybody. Aloha. This is Dr. Michael Salla, and I'm very pleased to be with Elena Danaan, who has some really interesting information to share with us about an interview she did with a super soldier who was active in the 1970s and 80s in Singapore and Malaysia, and her interview with him covered a lot of territory. So I would just want to welcome you, Elena, to Exopolitics today.
Thank you, Michael. I'm very honored to be on your show. Thank you.
Yes. Well, this interview really got my attention because of his testimony. But then he passed away in very unusual circumstances, and there is a notice on your website where you posted in memory of Stephen Chow, where you gave his full details and him passing away. So why don't you just share with us, what happened with Stephen?
Well, I met I met Stephen. I I was approached by a group of spiritual group in Canada, Collective Consciousness, and just for spiritual things, and he was part of it. And I suddenly felt a lot of suffering coming from this person, and I asked to contact him personally to offer him some healing and psychic readings and stuff like that. And he was delighted, and we started a conversation and exchange by email. And he said to me that he worked in Area 51. I went, oh my, that's all I could see. All this is trauma, and we started this conversation, this exchange by email, and he started telling me things about it. And I went, wait a minute. I wrote a book because I'm an experiencer, and I got information from my extraterrestrial contact, and it absolutely matches everything that you say. And then I asked him a question. I went, in my experience, I was told about a person called Dr. Jenkins to contact in Area 51. At the time, I was 16 years old. I was totally frightened, and I didn't do anything about it. Would you know about this person? He got back to me and he said, yes, of course. I met a Dr. Jenkins, a Professor Jenkins, and he was in Area 51 and he was sent by the Vatican. I went, okay, and we didn't have exchange for a while, maybe a month or two, and suddenly he sent me an email 2 weeks ago and saying, I'm ready to speak. Please, if you want to interview me, I'll let you deal with all the YouTube stuff. I need to speak now. Let's do it. And I went, all right. I have a YouTube because I have a YouTube channel. I went, all right, let's do it. Okay. Are you sure? Are you feeling safe for that? He said, oh, I've looked over my shoulder all my life and I really want to do it. Please. So I went, okay. We recorded this interview, but before we recorded it, he said he was attacked um, energetically. He had blackouts, and he suddenly he wasn't feeling safe, and he was speaking about Mitra extraterrestrials, which are tall grays. Um, I said, last chance to withdraw. Stefan, are you okay? He said, please, let's do it as soon as possible. So we recorded this interview. He told me everything about his life his experience in Area 51, his experience in Malaysia fighting reptile beings in caves, and everything. And then I said to him after the interview, it was a Friday night. I said, okay, let me edit it to hide your picture and do it anonymously and put some editing on it. Say, okay, but be quick. On the Tuesday, he sent me another email. He said, will you please hurry up and put it up? So I say, okay, are you sure? Yes, I put it up. And on the Tuesday night, in the middle of the night, I aired it on YouTube. And on the Saturday, I received an email from his family saying that passed away.
Okay, so just to be clear here, so you did an interview with him on February 26th, which was a Friday,
Yes,
and he urged you to publish the interview on your YouTube channel as quickly as possible,
yes,
because he was starting to experience some symptoms of some kind of sickness,
yes,
and and so you aired the interview on March 2nd, live streamed it,
yes.
and then on March 3rd, essentially the day after your interview with him went live, you got the email from his family saying that he was dead
On the Saturday,
on the Saturday.
on
On
the
the
Saturday.
Saturday. Well, I mean, that obviously is very, very suspicious. The timing and the fact that he was in such a hurry for you to publish the interview. Do you think he was aware that the contents of his interview was something that was putting his life at risk?
Yes, yes. And I gave him many times a chance to redraw and not doing it, but he was so determined, you know. So I went, okay,
Okay.
you know.
So it was really, you were concerned, you felt that there was something dangerous here for him, and but you gave him the opportunity, but he felt that this was important, that almost like his last contribution, or that he was really seeing that this was something he wanted to offer humanity, the
Yes.
information that he had to share, and he was willing to take the risk, and he paid the price for that.
Yes, and it is horrible for me as well because, um, and well, I gave him the choice many times, and he was very determined. And
Hmm.
because he trusted me, uh, because we were starting to be friends, and I was an experiencer. I had contact as well, so he knew I believed him, and it just happened like this because I was
Hmm.
there at that moment.
Hmm.
That was all. I was there at the right moment, and I was a person he trusted in that very moment. You know
Hmm.
and so that's how it happened. And oh my God.
Hmm. So he was someone that had really important experiences as a super soldier,
Yeah.
shared those experiences with you, encouraged you to publish those experiences, knowing full well that his life was at risk. And only a short time after the interview was aired, he was dead in suspicious circumstances, and he had essentially intimated to you that uh, this was a possibility that he could be killed for sharing this.
He didn't say that, but he was, I suppose he was feeling threatened,
Hmm.
because I told him, are you feeling safe? And even I say it during the interview, are you really feeling safe? He says, oh, like whatever, I've been looking over my shoulder of my life, so you know and
Hmm.
he looked so calm in this interview, like released of a burden. He just released it out of him. It was like,
Hmm.
whew, I took it out of him because he was really damaged. They really
Hmm.
damaged him. And I as I say in a little word I wrote on my channel, Stefan was a sniper, and I say, may his last shot be his best. May he be the whistleblower that just collapsed the building, because he must be honored for his courage, honestly.
Hmm. Hmm. So you are in touch with his family, and
Yes.
and maybe his family will be able to share more information. Is that something you're willing to do? I mean, because he says that he worked with the Singapore military for 10 years,
Yeah.
which is when he had these experiences, and that he reached the rank of colonel.
Yes.
at a very young age because of his special abilities. So he was certainly someone quite exceptional. So, I mean, I don't know if there's documentation or anything that his family is willing to share with you. I mean, that would help, because I think his case and the information he had to share is very important. It definitely dovetails with a lot of what I've been researching recently, and I know what you've also covered in your book.
Yes, absolutely. Well, he confirms things that are in my book, which is a plus, But indeed, I've been contacted by his family. I don't want to expose them, but I am waiting at the moment further information. I think he is still in autopsy. They haven't yet come up with a verdict. I am waiting for answers, and I've asked for um, informations regarding to his military service here and there, whatever they could provide. So I'm waiting for these informations, and
Mhm.
that's all I can say for the moment.
Yes, that's great. So I encourage listeners, viewers, to watch the interview that Elena did with Stevie. It's online, and I'll put the location in the description for this interview. But now I thought maybe it'd be good if we just cover some of the kind of like points
Yeah.
in the interview you did with Stevie that was so important that he felt compelled to share this with you and get it out, and that kind of experience, that unburdening that you described. Well, he said that he was recruited into the uh, Singaporean military at 18, general conscription that is mandatory there, uh, and then eventually he was approached by officers associated with the Prime Minister's office in Singapore because of his very high IQ test scores. So what happened when he got recruited by the office of the Prime Minister of Singapore? What sort of things do you remember him saying happened?
Well, first he was confronted to because he had I would say psychic abilities, but I would say um, he was very intelligent, and he was very sharp, very very intelligent as a soldier, and they sent him on the most tricky missions. So he told me about three missions where he was involved in military missions operations where he was confronted to reptilian beings, human hybrid reptilians, or totally reptilians. And he used the names Sikar, and Sikar is a word I have been given. And I discovered as well that Alex Collier just used the same name to it's so real. It's so confirming everyone's. So he was involved in protecting who was the Pakistan prime minister at the time, who visited Malaysia. Was it
Benazir Bhutto.
Benazir Bhutto? Yes. So he was involved in protecting her because the prime minister in Malaysia had received a message from the CIA that there could be an attempt of assassination of this prime minister, Benazir Bhutto. So he was involved in close bodyguarding her, this person. And well, something happened that three people tried to kill her, but and they ran after them. They killed two of them, and the third one, Stefan, approached this one. They caught him, and he approached this uh, assassin, and he could see scaly skin, and that he looked human from far, but from close he had reptilian skin, and he was very shocked. And so this being was caught and taken away, and he didn't know where they took him away. That was the first contact with the reptilian being. Then he was also called to on an operation. I think he said it was in China, or I don't remember, where there was one of these reptilian beings terrorizing the populations.
Japan, I think that was.
Japan. Thank you, thank you. There's so much thing in this interview, and I'm still in shock. So he got to catch this being, and this being escaped in flying saucer that landed. Metallic gray said flying saucer. He went in, and the saucer took off. So that was very shocking. Then
And these were cicars in that flying saucer, or were these just the
yes,
reptilian human hybrids?
I think it was. I don't remember what he said. I think it was Sicar. It was a reptilian being anyway. It wasn't. No, sorry. I really apologize. It was a hybrid, because he said that this one didn't have a tail, because the hybrids don't have tails, and the Sicars have a tail, the original ones. He said that. So it was a hybrid. Third thing, children were disappearing in East Malaysia a lot, and he was sent to investigate with his team, and they were sent into.
Can I just interrupt you there, Elena, just to clarify something?
Yes.
Because I remember him saying something about working for the office of the Singapore Prime Minister.
Yes.
So what might be confusing is, why is he doing missions in Malaysia? Was there a relationship between the Singapore Prime Minister and the Malaysian Prime Minister? Did their militaries cooperate? Because this was in the 1970s, and Singapore and Malaysia had separated as two, or Singapore had seceded from Malaysia. So
I don't know.
Okay. All right, but essentially, he can you confirm he was working with the office of the Prime Minister of Singapore or of Malaysia? Because I remember him saying Singapore.
So it must be. I think it's Singapore.
Okay.
To be really, really clear, I think it's Singapore. I can get this confirmed by his family, but because he speaks very fast and very, it's difficult sometimes to understand. He was sent in these caves, and he said it's big, huge caves where a plane can fly in, and they came face to face with what he called a Sikar, full reptilian being, and he said he was terrorized, because even though he was brave, he said that's terrorizing to see one. He describes it with the face, with all the teeth and everything, and he said the claws, and he said they have a claw here, another claw here for combat, he said, and he had a gun and beam energy gun, and he was pulverized. This being was pulverizing rocks, so they had difficulty to hide anywhere, because he was shooting at them and the rocks would explode. So they got this being by Stefan was a sniper, and he had a special device with a nuclear gun, with protons. I absolutely not knowledgeable in these things, so I just repeat what he said. Maybe it makes more sense for other people. And this nuclear weapon just collapsed the cave and the side of the mountain, and that was the end of it. So that's what he said.
Okay, so this was the incident with I think he said there were a group of three Sicars that were fully body armed, and that there were children that were missing.
Yes.
So the Sicars were essentially, I think, kidnapping children and using them for whatever they do there in these huge caverns, and so there was a kind of firefight that he and his team had with these Sicars.
Yes.
And when they came back later, whether it was the next day in a helicopter, especially helicopter, the cavern and the mountain where it was under was all had been collapsed. So the cars had destroyed that facility and covered up. So it kind of confirms what a lot of people have been saying, that cars come to certain areas and they start becoming active, whether it's kidnapping people, fighting soldiers, and then they leave.
Yes, yes, yes. And that totally matches with uh, all legends in Asia and this area in Asia, especially in Nepal and Tibet, where the people have legends about snake people, snake demons living in the caves and having confrontation with monks and, stories like this. So that confirms local ancient legends.
Mhm. Well, I recently did an interview with a Brazilian author, Fabio Santos, who
Oh, yeah.
was working, had co-written a book with a Brazilian super soldier, and he said that he was part of a planetary intervention force that was sent to fight with, or monitor, or engage, or provide protective services for VIPs in situations involving extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
And so he described similar incidents to what Stephen encountered. But Stephen's experiences very much match this Brazilian super soldier's experiences in providing kind of protective services to VIPs in situations involving extraterrestrials. He described, and that's what Stephen says he was doing. That he
Yeah.
did it for the Prime Minister's office in providing protection for
Yeah.
Benazir Bhutto. That this is
Yeah.
one of their jobs, to provide protection and also to fight against
Yeah.
or to fight against some of the extraterrestrials that go into these areas.
Yeah, this is amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's exactly what he told me. He was asked to do this job of protection, and the CIA probably knew. The CIA doesn't have a good name when we start to talk about
Mhm.
these things.
Mhm. Well, many of the things that Stephen described in terms of his special skills, his training, and then being sent off to do these special missions around the world with different governments. I mean, he did it in Malaysia. He went to China. He went to Japan, and so it seems that the world leaders have a network of these super soldiers that are trained to engage or fight or interact with extraterrestrials, and they draw upon this international network. And this is what was happening with Stephen, which matches this Brazilian super soldier that Fabio Santos wrote the book with. So we have independent sources saying that there is this planetary intervention force of highly trained special forces soldiers who go and do the bidding of world leaders in situations involving extraterrestrial life and technology.
Wow. Yeah, I'm impressed. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So and he said then shortly after he was approached by um, kind of a committee. He had difficulty to name it. They were coming from America, and I said, was it the CIA? He said, no, it's something darker and more hidden. And either he didn't want to say it, or he didn't know. He said he didn't know, but I was sensing he knew, and he didn't want to. He was too scared to tell it, so I didn't insist. So an organization linked with the US came to approach him and did 4 IQ tests to him to recruit him. They told him, "Oh, this is because you are so good. We want to send you to university in England." And I said, "Okay, right. I do this test." And he passed this IQ test, and because it came out that Stefan had cognitive abilities. He could create a very powerful amount of gamma waves with his brain. And that was interesting interesting, these secret services. So then, shortly after, the prime minister for whom he was working said to him, "Oh, I received an order from these people that they want to borrow you to work in Area 51." And they wanted to have it for like ever, but the prime minister of Singapore, he wanted, yeah, it was Singapore. He didn't want to let him go because he wanted to keep him. He said, "Okay, I allow you only 2 weeks to have him for 2 weeks." So, but that these 2 weeks, I mean,
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, that's so we will get to his Area 51 experiences shortly, but I really want to kind of like emphasize this point that even though Stephen was working with the office of the Prime Minister of Singapore, because this was dealing with extraterrestrial life, that he would often be sent off to these different countries, whether it was China, Japan, Malaysia, to engage with extraterrestrials that are interacting amongst us. And even though this kind of matches the testimony of other super soldiers, but also wanted to point out that this also matches with what the Prime Minister of Russia, uh, Vladimir Medvedev, said in 2012 in a hot mic incident. He said that there was a force or an organization that monitored extraterrestrials living amongst humanity. And he said that this was an organization that the office of the president of Russia would be briefed about when he came into power. He would receive two folders or two files, one dealing with the nuclear codes for their weapons and the other dealing with extraterrestrials amongst us, and a worldwide organization monitoring extraterrestrials. So we have here the former Russian President Medvedev confirming that there is this worldwide organization set up to monitor and interact with extraterrestrials living amongst us. And then we have these super soldier accounts like with Stephen and with this Brazilian super soldier as well, confirming that this planetary organization exists.
Yes. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And when he speaks about this organization, secret organization that hired him, maybe it is linked to it. I don't know. Just
Mm-hmm.
supposition.
Okay. All right. So Stephen had these special skills. He's working with this world organization on behalf of the Singapore Prime Minister's office to do different things. And then at a certain point, some Americans noticed that he has this unique ability in emitting gamma rays, and that's somehow related to a pilot being able to interact with the technology of flying saucers or any gravity craft. So he goes to Area 51 and gets trained. So you want to cover a little bit what happened at Area 51, who Stephen met, and what his experiences were there.
Yes. So as soon as he arrived there, they told him that he would be hired and trained very quickly to pilot a F-15 plane, F-15F, he said, plane, and that it is a program aimed to pilot these planes by thought. So they were studying and developing this technology of piloting planes by thought, by the mind. The reason why it's because it responds faster and it's more reliable and faster in combat than having to rely on mechanic controls. So that was the purpose of it. So that was why he was hired there to experiment with him this and develop these abilities, because as Stephen said, so how was it happening? They were injecting a serum in the pilots, that this serum was super activating the brain functions. But the problem is that all the pilots were dying after a while because it was mushing the brain like mush. And he was passing all the tests. He was strong, and he didn't die from it, but it was heavy thing to do. And he speaks about how he was put in the plane and with all how this
Mhm.
was working. So that's what he was doing there. Then when he arrived, he said there's a huge protection around area 51, huge. But once you're in it, you kind of free to go wherever you want, more or less, because it's so protected from outside. So you're okay inside. You can't get out, can't get in, can't get out. So anyway, so as soon as he arrived, he was with military guards, and they were carrying super heavy weapons inside. And Stefan asked, he said, "Why are you carrying, just one question, carrying these weapons inside? What for?" And one guy told him, "Oh, it's to protect you against the greys." He said, "What greys?" He said, "Oh, the alien greys, the alliance of the gray, the alliance of the greys, the alliance. No, sorry, the gray alliance, the gray alliance." And that's how it just was a revelation. There are ETs in there, and there are greys. So the Grey Alliance is an alliance of grey races that are very malevolent to humans on Earth. They are from Orion. So and then during his time there, he met 3 different ET races there, which were not benevolent at all, and they were working closely with the military there.
Mhm. So we need to first clarify that when we're talking about Area 51, we're talking about the S4 facility there, because Area 51 has 2 facilities. One is at Groom Lake, which is where they built the spy planes for the Air Force and the Navy, and that's a kind of cover program. But at Papoose Lake, they have the S4 facility where they have the flying saucers, the ETs, and all of this really highly advanced anti-gravity uh, developments going on. But what I thought was very interesting in the interview with Stevie was that he said that the Greys were not very good themselves at building technology, that they really relied on humans to build the technology. The Greys were good at kind of like sharing the information on how to do it, but they weren't so good at building it. Can you just explain what was going on there?
The first word he employed was lazy, but that tells a lot, because Greys had workforce there, humans who were very happy to learn how to build this ship, you know. So
Hmm.
why would they do the job themselves? They were just employing workforce there, and of what I understood of what Stefan was, how he was describing these beings, they were very superior behavior, like we are you we are superior, and you humans are just slaves, or like primitive beings. That was the attitude they had. So it's totally understandable. They surely can build their own ship, but it's totally understandable that they were taking advantage of getting the humans there happy to build these things for them.
Hmm.
So that's what I understood.
Yes, so that's a very important point, because it means that this alliance, we're talking about the Grey Alliance, the Sakars, the Reptilians. Uh, they have really advanced technologies, but they aren't good at building the technologies themselves. What they're good at is forcing uh, other races, in particular humans, whether we're talking humans on Earth or human-looking races elsewhere in the galaxy, to build these technologies. They're kind of like conquerors. They kind of come in, they conquer a place, they get the people there to build new technologies, which will help them move forward in their in their planetary conquests.
Yes, indeed. And as Stefan could confirm, the tall greys are using the small greys as a slave workforce. But the small greys are mainly all clones, and there are few original biological small greys left. They're all cloned and synthetic life forms and things like that.
Hmm. Yeah, this kind of matches with one of the things that I got from interviewing Corey Good, who says uh, that humans are building on Mars like advanced technologies that they trade with up to 900 different extraterrestrial races. That he says that was what he was told by a manager of a corporate facility on Mars, that they were building technology and trading it with up to 900 different ET civilizations. So, that kind of like what you experienced, or what Stevie told you, kind of corroborates that the ETs aren't great at building technologies themselves, that they rely on subservient races like humans to build it for them.
Yes, indeed, Michael. And Stefan, at the end of the interview, just blew my mind when he starts to speak about Mars, saying that one day he met technician people. He said not military, technicians trained to build,
Mm-hmm.
uh, coming out of a shuttle. This shuttle was coming back from Mars, and I went, "What?" The shuttle was coming back from Mars, bringing back human Earthling technicians who told him that they were there to build facilities for ETs. And so these technicians were describing the bad conditions of the flights, that it was very rough, then that their reptilian race was their boss to build the facility they were coming from, but that there were also gray races. There were many people out there on Mars, but basically um, Mars belongs to aliens, and they use humans to build their facilities. And there are some kind of treaties that humans can have their own facility there, but it's just under the direction of these ETs.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying something, this technician, to Stephen. Oh, if you don't do how they ask you, they throw you outside and you die in 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he was saying.
Yeah, that's very important. These agreements with extraterrestrials and human leaders. That's one of the things that really got my attention about claims that these agreements go back to uh, around 600 AD, where there was agreements reached between human leaders and extraterrestrials, where the extraterrestrials would no longer openly appear. They wouldn't go into cities and be worshipped as gods, but now they would operate behind the scenes secretly, just communicate with world leaders, and they would go to different places where they would fight with soldiers, or take people. These agreements go back over 1,000 years. Do you know anything about these agreements going back that far?
I have been told, yes, that there were agreements with reptilian races now,
Mhm.
very long time ago. Um, and there has been a second wave of agreements with the Grey Alliance
Mhm.
in 1954 and around it.
Mhm.
That was made with the AIM-J12.
Mhm.
Eisenhower tried to stop it. It wasn't okay with that.
Mhm.
So I have had that confirmed many times.
Oh, good. So that's important that these agreements with the reptilians predate the agreements that were reached in 1954, 55 with President Eisenhower and the Grey Alliance, that the agreements with the reptilians go back much, much further. Some people say up to around 600 AD. And that kind of would explain, situations like what Stephen was describing, where you would have these reptilians operating in places like Japan and China and Malaysia, abducting children and having fights with soldiers, and the world doesn't hear about it. It's all done secretly. So it's confirming that these leaders keep it secret amongst themselves, and when they have a situation, that they contact this worldwide organization to get super soldiers sent to go into these areas and find and engage with the extraterrestrials or the Sakars.
Yes, that totally matches with what Stefan says.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is really incredible information. So, I mean, unfortunately, you only were able to interview Stephen once. Um, do you have any kind of sense, like what else he had to share, or what it is that may have led to him being targeted by this planetary organization?
Well, he was saying that they had tried to wipe his mind, his
Hmm.
memory, before allowing him to leave Area 51. But Stephen had very special mind abilities, so he was able to remember a big part of it. But he was saying to me that he was working very hard to try to remember all the rest, because he was saying that he was suspecting that the Mitras, these tall grays, had done something to him and he couldn't uh, put the finger on it, and he was fearing them, really. Um, so he was, after the interview, he was saying to me, or just no, after the interview, yes, I sent him an email to say, oh, here is the recording of the raw Zoom meeting, and I'm going to edit it. And maybe in the future, if you have more things coming, we can do a second interview. And he replied, we will see. I will think about that. So he wasn't sure. But I knew that in the same time, he was working hard to try to find his memory. So, I'm sure he would have had other elements coming, but I think they didn't want him to say more, you know, probably. I think yes, he felt the moment, because the tone of the emails changed. We were talking about spiritual things and healing and the power of the mind and things like that. And we were not talking about Area 51 anymore, because I knew it was something that was too hard for him. I just allowed it to go. But suddenly one day, after 2 months and no news, I'm ready to speak. Let us do it as fast as possible, as quick as possible. I'm ready. I'll let you organize YouTube. Suddenly, I don't know what happened. Suddenly, he was probably feeling threatened in some way. He said he had blackouts. Um, when he sent me this email, the last email on the Tuesday following the interview, so for 4 days just after the interview, saying I praise you, please, to put this interview live, however it's edited or not. He said, because I have blackouts and nose bleedings. I went, oh my gosh. And I replied, are you really sure? And he said, please, please.
Okay, so he was really intent on getting that information out, that
Yes, yes,
there seemed to be something happening that was very suspicious behind the
yeah.
scenes. So we do know that there is this international organization that has super soldiers trained to find and monitor and engage and have firefights with extraterrestrial entities all around the world. and by revealing his secrets, I think it's very possible that this organization uh, wanted to stop him from revealing more.
Maybe, probably that would be really make sense.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
Okay. Well, Elena, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to maybe share a little bit about where people can find out more about you and the work that you do in raising awareness of extraterrestrial life on planet Earth. So please just tell people where they can go. And
Thank you. I have a YouTube channel, Elena Danaan, where I put everything I know on it. So there are on interviews and there are contact with extraterrestrial beings. But what is, I think, really helps as well, it's a book I have written, A Gift from the Stars. Well, I have it, I'll just show you quickly.
Mhm.
It's only on Amazon at the moment, but that's it. So I tell in this book my personal experience of being abducted by gray aliens and rescued by Nordics, and so I tell everything about it and the knowledge I gained from it, what they told me. So this is available on Amazon, and that's how you can know about me.
Thank you, Eleanor. Well, I definitely would like to do a follow-up interview and talk about your book and some more experiences that you've had. I'm particularly interested in what you have to share about Valiant Thor
Oh yeah,
and his experiences. But we'll cover that in another interview. So I want to thank you
with pleasure.
for coming and being a part of Exopolitics today. Mahalo.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you.